Hello everyone and welcome to Spirit Basics. I'm Jennifer Allan, the show for both a beginner and the avid connoisseur of fine spirits.
And I'm Stephen Olson, and today's show will be all about whiskey-based liqueurs and cream liqueurs.
Now Stephen, can you briefly explain for us again, what exactly is a liqueur?
I would like to explain it to you. We are going to use as a definition, because there is some confusion about the definition, any spirit that has been both sweetened and flavored. Understand that there are many different ingredients for cocktails and many different kinds of spirits that are flavored. In particular, we have some like bitters and amaros and vermouths that are more dry or more bitter than they are sweet, even though they might be slightly sweetened. So today we're going to focus in on liqueurs that use whiskey as a base or cream liqueurs.
Now Scotch and Irish whiskey have been around for centuries, but have they been making the liqueur as long?
Well, actually, the liqueurs have been around for centuries as well. And in the case of these Irish or Scotch-based liqueurs, sometimes the concept, the flavors, actually predate the whiskeys themselves. Let me just give you an example. We have Irish Mist, we have Glava, we have Drambuie. These are all whiskey-based liqueurs, this Glenfiddich here from Ireland or Scotland, that all seem to draw their roots from this idea of a heather mead. Centuries ago, maybe 1,000 years ago or even longer, predating the whiskeys themselves, were beers made from honey, flavored with the wild grasses, the clover of this area, heather. So we would then use those as flavors with the whiskeys and sweeten it. And obviously predating the whiskeys themselves. The newer ones like Southern Comfort, which are bourbon-based and use peaches and other spices. Now when we talk about cream liqueurs, understand that the idea of putting milk in a spirit is ancient. The idea of getting milk to stay in a bottle with spirit and not spoil is relatively new, and that was perfected by Bailey's. And I should point out that Bailey's is indeed a whiskey-based and a cream liqueur. Now that has become an incredibly popular category, and consequently today, virtually every spirit category in the world has some version of a cream liqueur made with it as a base.
And Bailey's is my favorite.
There you go.
Now for a deeper look at these liqueurs, we turn to our master mixologist, Dale Degroff.
When we talk about the whiskey or cream-based liqueurs, we really have to talk about Ireland and Scotland, because that's where the three biggies come from. Let's begin with Bailey's Irish Cream. The Bailey's Irish Cream guys about 25 years ago are the ones who made the breakthrough discovery how to stabilize these two volatile ingredients together in one bottle, alcohol and cream. And a lot of people have imitated them ever since. I remember at the time I was working at the Hotel Bel Air in Los Angeles, and the head bartender Chuck came back from vacation in Ireland with a bottle of this Bailey's Irish Cream. And he said, "Dale, I gotta tell you, I've never tasted anything like this. This is gonna be so hot." And sure enough, I have never in my career as a bartender seen a spirit spread by word of mouth, because I never even saw an ad for this stuff. But within a year, Bailey's Irish Cream was in every bar in America, and it still is an extraordinary liqueur. Irish Mist has a wonderful bit of lore attached to it. The story goes that in 1601, when Ireland lost its bid for independence, one of the many bids for independence from England, many of the Irish lords had to flee to the continent. Fast forward now to after the Second World War, a refugee from Austria arrives back in Ireland, carrying with him a recipe that has been passed down from generation to generation in his family. He goes to the makers of Tullamore Dew Irish whiskey and he gives them this recipe, and they start making again this 1,000-year-old recipe for Irish Mist liqueur. It's a wonderful story. I'm not going to argue with it. I think it's great. Southern Comfort, the American whiskey-based spirit, has another great little bit of lore attached to it. In New Orleans, there was a saloon owner named M.W. Heron. And M.W. Heron, like a lot of saloon owners in the 19th century, got their whiskey delivered in a barrel. And when the barrel was about halfway down, Heron had a habit in the season when those Georgia peaches were fresh and ripe and sweet. He would cut them up and remove the bung on the top of the barrel and stuff it full of Georgia peaches along with some honey and some spices, and then put the bung back in and serve the rest of the barrel like that. And that was the beginning of the brand Southern Comfort. And Drambuie, that Scotch-based heather honey liqueur that we love to put in our Scotch and we call it a rusty nail. Remember that wonderful cocktail? It has a great story too. The lore is that Bonnie Prince Charles of the House of Stuart, after losing his bid for the English throne against King George I in the Battle of Culloden, presents the recipe to his favorite and most loyal captain who gave him refuge when he was trying to escape the forces of the crown. This famous recipe for Drambuie to his Captain John McKinnon, and it lives down the ages to today. And those are the four great stories and a little bit of lore surrounding these whiskey-based spirits. I think I'll have a little sip of one right now, as a matter of fact.
You know, there's some amazing folklore surrounding the origins of some of these spirits, but nobody spins a yarn quite like Dale. Up next, we'll tell you how whiskey liqueurs and cream liqueurs are made.
And our spirit insider, Scott Hennessy, ventures out into the cold to learn more about cream and whiskey liqueur when Spirit Basics returns. Welcome back to Spirit Basics. It's time now to talk about how these whiskey and cream liqueurs are made. Now, Bailey's is one of the most popular of the cream liqueurs, and you said that they started it all. But how do they get the cream to stay in the bottle without spoiling?
You know, you've asked me a lot of good questions in all of these episodes, and that might be one that I can't really answer. And even if I could tell you exactly, it's kind of a proprietary secret. But just understand that the fact that it uses Irish whiskey is very important. That's the base spirit. And the fact that it uses Irish cream and coffee are flavorings. That's what we really need to understand. And there's no doubt that all the other brands followed. And I mentioned Irish whiskey. All liqueurs have a base spirit. And the base spirit then has the sweetener and the flavors added. In the case of cream liqueurs, the cream is added. So imagine if you were a rum-based cream liqueur like Cruisin' or Sangster's, for example. Or we have a Spanish brandy-based cream liqueur that's quite lovely, Crema de Alba, made from Grand Duca de Alba brandy. There's even a tequila-based cream liqueur that we have right here called Tequila Rose.
What about some of the whiskey-based ones?
Well, as I mentioned with the base spirit, now with all spirits, it's a lot to do with the quality of the ingredients, like a great cocktail. And I'm not just talking about the flavorings or the sweetening, but as much the base spirit itself. Earlier, we talked about cognac being a base. In the whiskeys, we're talking about Irish whiskey, for example, in the Irish Mist. We're talking about Scotch whiskey in Drambuie or in the Glenfiddich. That's a single malt. So what we're talking about here is quality-based spirit as the base, making it a better quality spirit. In the case of Southern Comfort, it's bourbon.
Well, for more on how these liqueurs are made, we turn to our spirit guide.
Whiskey liqueurs have existed for a long time. There's nothing wild about taking botanicals and putting them in with a whiskey. It's seen as simply adding medicinal properties. It is interesting, though, let's say in the case of Drambuie, that recipe is held only by the female members of the family. Why? Well, I guess it's understood that women, or believed that women, have a greater comprehension of the medicinal properties of all these plants and bushes and trees and flowers and so on. Indeed, Strega from Italy. What is Strega Italian for? Witch. Once again reflecting the idea that women have a better understanding of what these botanicals are placed in there for. But I have to be honest, it's not just that the botanicals are placed in there to make it more healthful and more medicinal. It's also to cover up, in many cases, a pretty lousy spirit. I mean, a lot of those old spirits were pretty rough and tumble. By the 1830s to the 1850s, now we have continuous stills available to us. Now we can make cleaner, sleeker, more elegant spirits, and indeed that's exactly what we do, all the way up to the present day, where we're making very clean and very sleek liqueurs, spirits, what have you. Everything, I think, is a much higher level than it ever was. In 1975, a new style is created when the Bailey's folks decide they want just a little piece of the Irish coffee market. It's a big market, and so they bottle Bailey's Irish Cream, hoping to get a little bit of it, and lots of their competitors rush into that market as well, so today there's a lot of really good cream liqueurs out there.
Well, now that we've taken a look at some of the history and origins of these fine liqueurs and learned a little bit more about the process of making them, it's time for an inside look.
Our spirit insider, Scott Hennessy, donned a parka to learn more about whiskey and cream liqueur.
Hi, Steve and Jennifer. I'm here at Kaylee's for their patio parka party. It's wintertime. Everything's been indoors so far, but we thought we'd come outside and see how people stay warm in the winter. We're out here on a patio, freezing, and you're working with ice. Are you getting cold?
I'm sweating.
You're sweating.
I work in a freezer every day of the year.
Now, what got you into making ice sculptures?
I was a chef for 13 years, and I just did it on the side, and I've been doing this for 9 years now, and now we've got a business we make 2,000 blocks a year.
Now, do you ever just have to stop and maybe just have some Baileys or some whiskey get you warm?
Oh, Bailey's is good, yeah, definitely.
What do you use that ice sculpture with the funnel in the center for?
Well, you pour the Baileys through there, and if the Baileys isn't quite cold enough, it cools it off to just the right temperature, and it's fun to watch it go through the ice, too.
So, Brenda, what's going on down here tonight?
We have the Parka patio party on top of Kaylee's rooftop patio.
It looks like everybody's staying pretty warm. How are they all staying warm?
We have all of our heaters on. Everyone's all in their parkas and toques and mitts.
What about now? You guys are serving Baileys and hot chocolate and coffee. Is that another reason how they stay warm?
Yeah, guaranteed.
All right, so now you look like a real manly man. You're out here without your shirt on, but you got a nice fuzzy coat. Do you think Baileys is more of a girl's drink or a man's drink?
Some say it's a girl's drink, but me, I think it's a man's drink too.
So you're back here behind the bar looking very, very warm yourself. What are you serving customers out there to keep them warm?
Just Baileys, hot chocolate, hot toddies, the polar bears.
Now, why do you think Baileys and hot chocolate go so good together?
There's just something about it. I'm not sure what it is. It's this mixture that's so good, and just inside it gives you this warmth. It's great.
Hey, what other drinks do you think would be good with Baileys to keep you warm on a night like tonight?
Oh, with Bailey's, a little cube of ice in the glass, and that's about it. That's all you need.
So you're a freezer guy, so you can handle the cold, can't you?
Oh, I love winter. I can't stand summer, so Bailey's is nice.
All right, guys, I've tried the Baileys, I've tried the hot chocolate, I've tried the coffee, I've even tried a beer. I'm sitting by the heaters and I'm still freezing. So guys, I'm going back inside. Back to you.
You know, we've spoken before about how sugar softens alcohol. Well, imagine if cream softens alcohol too, as it does. So a little sugar, a little cream makes these cream liqueurs very easy to drink.
That's why we like them so much.
That's probably it.
Up next, we continue our look into the spirit world with a lesson on how to drink these liqueurs and how to use them in some of your favorite cocktails. Don't go away.
Spirit Basics is brought to you in part by Willow Park Wines and Spirits.
Welcome back to Spirit Basics, the show for everyone who wants to learn more about the world's greatest cocktails. Time to take a closer look at how to enjoy these fine liqueurs.
Let me guess, no rules, right?
We always say no rules and regulations, and I stand by that, but we do have some guidelines today. And when it comes to cream liqueurs, well, think of them like cream, like milk, all right? Bailey's has an expiration date. Once you open it, keep it in the fridge, all right? Think of it like milk. Serve it ice cold. Serve it over cubes. Serve it like the cream in your coffee, and you just might want to give it a little shake before you pour it.
Now, there's so many traditions with whiskey, but are there traditional ways of enjoying the liqueurs as well?
Absolutely, and this time it is absolutely no rules or regulations, but generally speaking, we like to drink them in the traditional style, neat, in a snifter, after dinner, in a rocks glass, over ice. Certainly, all of these liqueurs make great cocktails, but Dale's going to show us more about that later.
We'll get to Dale in a minute, but right now we're joined by our spirit advisor for more ideas on how to enjoy these special liqueurs.
Okay, yeah, I've got two drinks now. I think I need two drinks. On my left is my whiskey liqueur, okay? And on my right is my cream liqueur. We'll get back to that. Right now, let's talk about the whiskey liqueur. What do I have here? I have Drambuie, all right? So it's made from Scotch whiskey, and it has other flavorings in it. Which flavorings? We don't know. That's the way these things work. They don't want to tell us, but let's stick our noses in there and see what we get. I definitely get something minty, definitely some green stuff going on in here. Something very floral. They'll say that it has a lot of heather honey and clover honey in it, and I would agree. It definitely has a heather smell. Heather is this wild little purple-pink flower that grows all over the place in the Highlands of Scotland, particularly in Speyside. And it has not just a floral note, but actually, to me, a peppery note, almost a little bit of sweet saffron note in there as well. Or maybe it's just that it looks a little like the saffron flower. And this has all of that and much more. Now, we come over here to my cream liqueur, and this is Bailey's Irish Cream, okay? This is no big surprise to most people. Most people know this really, really well. And somebody out there is being very sharp, and they're saying, wait a minute, this one here is both a whiskey and a cream. You'd probably be right. Well, maybe not, we don't know. I don't think there's a lot of Irish whiskey in here, but what I think there is a lot in here is a lot of beautiful flavor, a lot of richness. A very consistent product, very popular product, intensely popular. And the only key I have to say about this and any other cream liqueur, shake it well before service.
King Cocktail Dale Degroff joins us now with a lesson on how to make a cocktail with whiskey and cream liqueur.
I'm going to make a drink for you today based on a whiskey liqueur called Irish Mist. There are a lot of liqueurs based on spirits, especially in the cream category. There's lots of cream liqueurs, and the one based on Irish whiskey was actually sort of an innovator in the liqueur category, because the Bailey's guys figured out how to get the cream and the spirits to stay together. There had been a few attempts at this, Hereford cows and things like that, I remember in the 60s and the 70s, that were not so successful. They didn't have any shelf life. It would start to come apart after a while, but these guys figured it out. And after they figured it out, pretty much everybody followed suit. We have tequila cream liqueurs, this one here, the Tequila Rose. We have a rum tequila liqueur from Jamaica called Sangsters. We have cream liqueurs based on Kahlua. We have cream liqueurs based on brandy. Lots and lots of cream liqueurs. Even a Scotch cream liqueur based on Drambuie, which is a Scotch liqueur. But the drink I'm going to make for you today is called the Dubliner. And I came up with the drink when I was in the Czech Republic not too long after the wall came down, and those Eastern European countries were released from the sway of communism. During the communist occupation, the cocktail was considered decadent and Western, so they didn't make them. And they were really happy to have cocktails again. I actually was in an Irish bar called Molly's that had been pretty much shipped from Dublin right to the Czech in a container and rebuilt in a 13th century building. And I used half Irish whiskey and half Irish mist. Well, the owner of this joint was complaining to me that there was something wrong with the cream in Czech because it didn't whip up like real Irish cream did. And I said, yeah, right. There's something wrong with your bartenders. They're not putting any elbow grease into it. So I got some cream, and I got my whisk and my little stainless steel thing, put it in the ice, and the cream came up nicely. And what this is kind of an Irish coffee without the coffee, and cold. I did it for their St. Paddy's Day celebration. I'm going to put it in 2 little glasses. I'm not using the big Irish coffee glass because there's no coffee. There's only the 2 spirits. But I am going to use the float of cream, just the way an Irish coffee does. So we'll split this up between the 2. So we have a chilled Irish mist and chilled Irish whiskey, on top of which I'm going to float a nice thick layer of hand-whipped cream. This cream is not sweetened. You don't ever sweeten the cream for Irish coffees or Cafe Royale or any of the coffee drinks. You whip up regular cream unsweetened. The sweetness should come from what's in the glass, not the cream. And look how beautiful it floats if you whip it just under stiff. Steve, Jennifer? Yes, a little taste of Ireland.
Dale's version of Irish coffee. Chilled, neat, up, cream, no coffee. Delicious.
Delicious. After the break, we head into the kitchen with some recipes using cream and whiskey liqueur. Don't go away. Welcome back to Spirit Basics. We're in the kitchen and we're joined by our Spirit Chef, Chef Allan. Thanks again for joining us.
It's great to be back, Jennifer.
Now today we're talking about whiskey and cream liqueur. What are you shooting for when you're using these kind of liqueurs in a recipe?
Well, what you're going to take advantage of is the fact that these are a lot more intense in flavor. So what you're shooting for is a magnification of the flavors that are in them. So if it's a whiskey or a Scotch-based thing, you really want to get that end result or that taste a little stronger in your palate.
So you've got a couple of examples for us. Tell us what we have here.
Well, the first thing we have is a steak which has got some Irish mist on it, and that's an Irish whiskey liqueur. And what we get out of it here is that you can smell it's a far more intense taste, and you can see with the deep nature of this sauce here, and really the beef holds up very well and gives you a beautiful aftertaste.
So you can actually taste the whiskey.
Yeah, and that's again what we're shooting for. We're actually shooting here to get that infused flavor into the food.
Okay, and it looks like we have shrimp with some kind of dip here.
Right, and a dip that you might not think initially would work, and that's some Drambuie with some Dijon mustard. But what we have is we have the Scotch taste and the sweetness of Drambuie mixed with that sort of a little bit of spiciness and bitterness of the Dijon, and it works really well with shellfish. And in fact, you know, as we talked about with whiskey and Scotch before, things like oysters, prawns, mussels really come alive when you use this type of flavor with them.
And again, you have to be very careful with the amount that you use in each recipe.
Right, you do have to be more careful for sure because you are getting a more intense taste. And usually you're putting these in to finish some sort of a sauce or a dip because you actually want the taste to stick around.
Now, when I look at the cream liqueur, I have to be honest, I think of just putting them in my coffee, but I know that you can do a lot more with them than that.
Well, sure, and in fact, the first thing that springs to mind when I see Bailey's or amaretto cream is a dessert, maybe like a cheesecake or something. But these can be used, it depends on what you're using with. For example, something like veal or chicken, sort of a lighter meat, goes really well with both the cream and the sweetness. You know, we have veal marsala with a heavier wine that's nice and sweet. These really work well with those dishes, and they shouldn't be forgotten when you're making a sauce.
Well, I can't wait to try these. If you'd like to try these dishes at home, log on to our website for the recipes. Over to you now, Stephen.
Thanks, Jennifer. Those are some great recipes. Well, that's it for this edition of Spirit Basics. Join us next week when we discuss more liqueurs, but this time aniseed-based, like Sambuca, for example. I'm Stephen Olson, and for Jennifer Allan and the entire team here at Spirit Basics, we'll see you next week. Cheers.
Special thanks to Willow Park Wine and Spirits, whose dedication to providing knowledge, awareness, and service to their customers has made this show possible.